A very good morning to you. How you doing? Karibu sana, and I hope your Monday is better than how the week ended last week, and that you have been safe and sound, yours and you and yours. And tunawakaribisha sana to this Monday edition of Your World, a Mindful Monday. My name is Mikali Mary.
And my name is Winnie Lubembe. Yes, excited, but also a little bit terrified about whatever is happening, around us. So really, like we said, I hope that you're keeping well and safe, but the show must continue, okay? And today on Mindful Monday, we're starting with matters education, okay? And we're looking at education then versus now, and is learning better today? So that is the question we're asking you this morning, but we have a question for the day, but we're asking you, just think about it. When you think about 844, when you think about wale mlifanya sijui what before 844 and then now what we're experiencing now, do you think education has or learning has become better? So that is what we want to really try to figure it out, and we're doing a comparative analysis of the education curriculum right here in the country, because we have CBE, IGCSE,
yes,
844,
we have the American system,
yeah.
Sijui kama watu wanasoma nyumbani,
home-based something.
Yeah.
I don't
homeschooling, all of that, and we're just trying to see where we've come from, where we are at, and where we're going. What does it look like? What was the need to change the system? Yes. Is it working? Is it not? And all of that. But the question that we are asking you today is, parents, what is your biggest concern about your child's education? Parents, what is your biggest concern about your child's education? NTV Kenya on all of our social media platforms. You can hit us up on WhatsApp as well, because parents, this conversation is for you. We have the experts joining us to just help us understand. Kama una swali unasikia mimi ni kama sielewi tunaenda wapi tukifanya nini.
Yeah.
We're just doing, we are building kites, we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing, but I'm not so sure.
I saw some people online complaining, feathers, sasa usiku unatoa wapi feathers?
Yeah, and bottle tops. Kuna mtu akona pekele kwa nyumba anisaidie.
Is it making things better or worse? Okay, so let us know. And like we said, the conversation really is for parents, but also for parents to be.
Yes.
Because I'm sure we've had a lot of people say, maybe when I get a child, I will not want my child to go through the 844 system. May want them to go through the IG.
We have ideas.
We have all the ideas. Yeah, so all your concerns, please bring them our way. We have experts, like Wick said, to help us with that conversation. But in studio, who do we have?
In studio, he's not a newcomer here. He has the most beautiful stories. And I think if he was my teacher, I think I'd probably ningekuwa uko PhD nikisonga sana, because of his approach, right?
Yes.
Yeah, his approach to teaching and learning and interaction with students. I'm talking about none other than Paul Wanjo, who's an educational expert. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Lovely to have you. Karibu. Yani, it's been a long time coming, but we're happy you're here.
You'd have told them, Mimi Dimi Mwalimu.
You say that. Okay, camera 7 here.
Yes.
Hey, tell the people at home.
Yes, I'm telling you, first of all, greetings this morning. And as we've been told by one of us, that we wish that, or we hope that everyone is safe after the heavy downpour last weekend. And it is our prayer that wherever one is, everybody is going to actually take the necessary precautions. Even as we start, I have just said, Mimi Dimi Mwalimu.
Hey, don't mind that. Are we singing today? Are we singing today?
We might sing, by the way.
Sing.
Because now, whatever we are going to discuss, we are saying how things used to be, how things are, and also how things could be in the days to come.
Yes.
And because we have got different systems, especially in our country, I don't know whether we can say that we have broad-based multinational systems, because you hear that we have now 844 and CB. At the same time, in our senior schools, we have the IB, we have the American, we have the IGCSE, we have the, all of those. But nevertheless, this is a very important discussion. And I would say that those ones who can be able to tune in, and those who are having their phones, this is a program not to be missed by anybody. Especially now, let me tell you, the moderators, the hosts, actually, they are always making everybody feel so much inspired. If you're not inspired, wherever you are, I would say, please get someone to make you happier. Because with the two, Lubebe and Mwikali, hamwezi mkakasirika.
That is so sweet. Thank you so much. I know. Mwalimu amesema. Hapa ndio hapo. Hapa ndio tulipo. Nimewacha guys. Okay, sorry guys.
Okay, joining us we have Otto Sifuna, who is a CBE curriculum specialist. Good to see you. How are you? I hope you can hear us.
Yeah. I just don't know if I'm audible enough on the end so that I can proceed with my sentiments as well.
Yes, we can hear you. Continue.
Yeah, and it's good that you have really hyped up. Actually, the two of you will have made very amazing teachers, according to my good friend Paul Wajoi's recognition. You have just made what we call in matters education, the entry behavior of the classroom, the lesson starter. Now we are very ready to delve into this matters education. And both Winnie and Mwikali, you are amazing components. You make, I think, teaching and learning look more live. And for us who are into this sector, Winnie and Mwikali, we want to make a paradigm shift of what education is all about. Education must not seem so strict. You remember the times when you were in school and you look on the timetable and it's double mathematics or double chemistry and you just don't want to be in that class? No. A lot has changed, as we're going to discuss in this program, where the learner is looking forward to the coming of the lesson. However hot the afternoon is or chilly the afternoon is, the learner is now at the center of teaching and learning.
I see that. Listen, you know, my parents watch this show and they'll be very happy when you say you would make a good teacher because both of them are teachers. Yes, but my parents are teachers.
What did it take for you to say no to that part?
Let me tell you. Because my dad's side of the family is mostly teachers.
Yes.
So my mom is the only teacher in, her family. So they're like,
and your brothers? Anyone else?
My brother after me is a teacher. So at least he saved the news. So my parents will be happy. They'll be like, we told you, you will be a nice teacher.
Thank you so much for those sentiments. And just before we are expecting other experts to join us.
Yes.
So we'll keep you posted as we go. But just to take us back, because we're talking about what was, what is, and where it's going. I'm curious to find out, Paul, yako ilikuwa yetu ya 844 ma yako ilikuwa different?
No, first of all, I would like us to note something very important which has come from the discussion.
Yes.
About one of us coming from a family of teachers.
Yes.
And I think the most important thing for us today to realize is that parents have been made to become teachers today. Unlike the way they used to be, they were passive teachers before.
Yes.
But this time around, especially whichever system that you have, parents are supposed to be very, very much involved in education and the learning of their learners, their children.
Yeah.
So maybe we would have said, currently, all of us are coming from schools which are at home because our parents, and also us because we are parents, we are teachers at home.
That is
only that now, when it comes to specialization, that is now the difference between the school parent teacher and the school teacher who is now trained. Like now for me, maybe I'm a mathematician. And you've asked a very good question because I am one person who has actually gone through different phases, either participating or teaching. I remember I did my KCPE. I don't know what that, not KCP, it was CPE by then. And we used to go, we used to be in primary school for 7 years. And those 7 years, the only difference with the 844 was that 844 added another year. That is now in our system. And if you go now to the international systems, you realize that some of them still remain at the 7th year. However, the approach of all those systems has been very different, changing. And I would like, first of all, to take something we used to have.
Yes.
During our time as we did history and geography, we would hear so-and-so was the first person to discover Mount Elgon.
Yes. Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
So and so, like now, even in some of our physical features in Kenya, go to a place like Kipia or Nyahururu, there's a very nice and big fall. it is indicated that it was actually discovered by somebody, Joseph Thomson. So it was named Thomson's Falls. So you can see there before, because as we look at our education system, it was so much inclined to the colonial issues, so that now we could just remain there and take Africans not to be people of much significance. You know, we were being trained as clerks or to become clerks, but not people of substance like today. So we would be told that before the white men came here, there were no people who had seen those important physical features at Joseph.
Until they came and discovered.
Until they came and discovered. And then it was put so clearly in the books.
Yes.
So and so. So now the question we used to ask ourselves, if that is the case, does it mean that our forefathers were not there? They were brought by the white men.
Right?
So now, when we come to this discussion about the education, then and today, and even the days to come, it has really evolved. It has actually moved from one level to the other, because even the content has completely been transformed. You realize that what we learned during the time I was in primary is not what we are teaching today, even in the senior schools or maybe junior schools or even the primary. So things have really transformed. And I know my brother Otoa can still add something to that.
Because
one thing I like him to do and to respect this space. Otoa to me is just the other day fellow. You know, for me now, when it comes to those old days, I think I can be able to say, but Otoa now is an expert in the modern. For me, I'll be able to tell about what used to be there before. Akina Otoa came out.
Okay,
The stage has been set for you, sir. Please.
And I salute my big brother. I've walked the journey with the likes of Paul Wajoi, and these are the first to reckon with. They charted the trajectory in education those years. We had a very series of conversation about we as Kenyans and the kind of education our children will consume that was relevant. And I think the most important things that we were putting into discussion was, is our education relevant to fit into the 21st century skills? Are we preparing our young ones, our boys and girls, to face the challenges of the world and provide solutions to the problem? And yes, we have really made a lot of progress in that. You remember when we were in school, we could do so many subjects such as art and craft, music, subjects that were really making use of the arts. You know, as an educator, I always say that the human anatomy has three components to be taught. It has the head, which is the cognitive aspect of learning. It has the heart, which is the values, because you cannot actually teach in isolation. All these young people that we are teaching are holistic individuals. So the heart is also supposed to be taught, just like the head and the brain is supposed to be taught. But the most important aspect of teaching and learning is also teaching from an experiential point of view. The hands must be taught. And therefore, if you look at now in this era where we are dispensing a competence-based curriculum, we are asking ourselves very pertinent questions. Is the education system in Kenya able to align with, maybe if you take a Singaporean system of education, for example? Because at the end of the day, with the AI and advancement in technology, we are existing in what we call a virtual world. The world has become a global village. And therefore, the mantra that we put forward is the children must think globally and act locally. I just want to point maybe two things that have really happened, and it was a blessing to our system of education in this country. And therefore, I want to salute all the education stakeholders that were involved from the start to where we are now. That is KICD and all the stakeholders that actually came into existence. One, the question of assessment. You have just asked what was the place of assessment or examination in our education system. And The thing that has really happened is what we call formative assessment. Hitherto, or earlier on, we could just wait until this particular boy or girl is coming to the examinable classes, and then we administer a one-off exam that is actually taken as a condemnatory exam. So if you fail Winnie or Mwikali, maybe at KCP or KCSE level, the whole village and every ecosystem knows that you are a failure.
Mr. Otoa, can you hear us?
Sorry?
Good.
Good. Tushikilie tu hapo kidogo, we pay our bills, and then so we don't rush you through the second point.
Part, yes.
But we'll just pay our bills quick, and then we'll pick up from there after the break. Is that okay? Hi, so. Okay. The question that we're asking you today is quite simple, and we're asking the parents today, what is your biggest concern about your child's education? What's the biggest concern about your child's education? NTV Kenya on all of our social media platforms. We will be right back after this break. Welcome back to Your World, and it's Monday, it's Mindful, and we are looking at the education system. What was and what is there now? What is working, what is not working? What do some of these systems mean and do? And we were just having that conversation during the break, and we're just like, I'm in school as well to just learn.
It's too much.
too much. Yeah, but I've been told there are things that have changed, so we're going to get deeply into that. Karibuni sana.
Yeah, and joining us right about now, like you said, we're expecting two more experts to join us right here on set. So one has made it despite the heavy traffic and everything else that is happening on the road, and that is Miss Jacqueline Ominga, who's the head of Cambridge Curriculum at Makini Schools. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. How are you?
I'm great.
How is it out there on the road?
Yeah.
It's madness.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
I actually didn't think I would.
Yeah.
I think there was an accident, but there's a gridlock.
Yeah,
but
there's
I
a
made
lot.
it here,
There's a lot happening on the roads, but you're here. So we'll allow a few minutes to just settle in.
Yes.
Before we come to you. But before we went on the break, we had Mr. Otoa giving us two really key insights. So probably, Mr. Otoa, utatukumbusha for those ones who are just tuning in right now. But we also have a question for you before we engage Mr. Sifuna. And the question is directed to the parents, okay?
Yes.
And we're asking parents, what is your biggest concern right about now, okay? As far as our education system, or is it our curriculum, everything else around it, okay? What is your biggest concern? Let us know at NTV Kenya across the digital platforms, as well as our WhatsApp number. We'll be going through it in just a second. But right about now, two very major insights from Mr. Sifuna. Go ahead.
No, I'm great that I'm talking not just to presenters in the studio, but I'm also talking to parents who are also navigating these changes in the curriculum and in the education system. Before we went for the break, both of you are saying, oh, now there are so many things that teachers are asking you to bring and all that. But you must not tire. This is now where the element of creativity comes in.
Yes.
We wanted an education system that will allow our children to be more creative and either using their hands, as I've already said, using locally available materials in cases where maybe technology and other expensive aspects are not available. And therefore, as parents, what has also changed is what we call parental engagement. And it doesn't mean that you as a parent, you must be literate. You must know what chemistry, what social sciences, what English is all about. It's just creating an enabling environment for this particular child to thrive. Now, you did ask the pertinent things that have happened in the new curriculum. You must know that now every child is an integral unit within the education spectrum. Earlier on, we could actually isolate, and there was a lot of what we call in matters education as wastage rates, because there's no way in which Winnie and Mwikali, you know, there is this saying that says, if you judge the fish by its ability to climb maybe a tree, then the fish will live knowing that it's the most foolish species to ever live.
Absolutely.
Similarly, if you judge the monkey by its ability to swim, in a pool, the monkey will always live knowing that it cannot do anything. So the new system of education takes cognizance of the fact that every child is unique in its formation, and now it is the work of the teachers who have now undergone the training to apply what we call differentiation. Because every child, when you have an ability to exist on this planet, you have got something that is unique that you can bring in a classroom. And therefore, if that talent is tapped enough, you are able to thrive and just succeed like any other child. I want to just quickly talk about what my brother Paul talked about rote learning. Initially, our system of education was just about recalling and rote learning. Who discovered this mountain, in which year, and all that? Actually, the other day, I was with my friends, and they were making mockery of the kind of education system that they went to. Some of them were asking, now, how does Pythagoras' theorem help me navigate the challenges of the world that I'm facing now? So what exactly has happened with the new system of education is to align it with the 21st century skills. And when I get more time, now I'll delve deeper into what are the 21st century skills that we were able now to align in the curriculum. And I was lucky because KICD identified that. In the formative stages, I was part and parcel of the team that convened in Naivasha to make suggestions in the new designing. And I took a lot of major contribution in the drafting of the language, or what we call the English language curriculum design. One thing I can tell you, and if you go to the curriculum right now, you'll find it, is what we call key and pertinent issues. Now, this learner is learning knowing that the world is not just isolated.
Okay.
This individual is in Africa, is in Kenya, but is aware of the global matters of what is happening in the global arena.
Yeah.
So the students are not just maybe in a cocoon somewhere, and they are learning in isolation. The knowledge they are getting is very much applicable, and the creativity they are getting, they are really working on it to improve their level of education.
All right.
You will be amazed with the kind of technovation that is coming up.
Yeah.
The young people are coming up with a lot of innovation, and they're doing amazing things in the education sector as it is now.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Sifuna. And, you know, the thing is, I love that it's very passionate, and he was part of the, you know, creation of this system, the CBA, as an expert. But we had an important question during, and my teachers are here. I'll be kicked out of the studio in here. I'll be kicked out. I'll be kicked out.
Like you.
Get out. Because you asked me, we need to understand the different systems that are there.
Yeah.
And I was just like, me too, I'd like to know.
Right? And it's one better than the other, because I am the, amongst many, it's not just me, where you see on this side of the road, there's the IGCSE, right? All those things. And then on this other side, there's Cambridge. And then it's Junendo going to learn Leo IB. I'm not going to say it in full, kwa sababu, you know. So based on the term, ile umeona so inakaa vizuri kushinda ile ingine.
And usually it's what I went through.
Yes.
Probably whatever I don't know is better. But is it necessarily the truth?
Absolutely.
Is it? Yeah.
It's 5 of them, okay? So there's the competency-based education, which again, I think we have talked about so much here on the show, but again, still, we'll just want to understand what it is. 844 curriculum, the former Kenyan system, the Cambridge curriculum, IGCSE curriculum, IB, I'm just going to say it, okay? And then the American curriculum. So can we understand the differences, maybe the similarities, and does it mean one is better than the other? So that the next time maybe naona billboard imeandikwa Cambridge, nisiseme tu nataka hiyo, without necessarily understanding the intricacies of all this curriculum.
I think that's a very, very nice observation. And before even we get this from the real expert who is in it, especially the Cambridge, I would like all the parents to know that for any system of education, we have actually the key objectives, and the key objectives are One, to make this child self-sufficient as they grow up. Number two, to make them good or critical thinkers, and to make them marketable in the global arena. So that now we can now be able to look at it and say, oh, if we have the IGCSE,
Yes.
where does it begin? Because now we know that maybe the entry point might differ, or maybe the age will differ. As we come to our CBE, as we go to the IB, like now IB, I would think IB might not be there in the lower early years. Is it there?
It is.
In the early years, eh?
Okay.
So you see, we'll be able to get it. But you realize that it proceeds from one level to the other. You go to diplomas and the rest. Nevertheless, the most important thing I would like all of us to get is that even for what we are having here today, that is CBE, we can be able to make it look like what we are just going to be able to discuss. Because if we don't invest in our system as a nation, we are still going to lag behind. There's something which came up from Mr. Sifuna about the assessment in our curriculum. The assessment we used to have there before, even as we come to see what other people do. And I would like you to see that the assessments we used to have were actually killer assessments. The tests, whereby you have studied for 7 years, you are tested in 2 days, and then the case is set.
Yes.
You cannot
Like
go
7
on.
years of
Yeah,
television.
that's
It's
done.
happened.
You are completely done.
Yes.
But you see now already we have got a very positive shift
Yes.
where everybody is actually appreciated, their competencies, and we are actually like our fingers, because among all these figures, there's none which is better than the other. And if you look at all the curriculums now which are there in our country, they are all geared towards the CBE, competence-based education. You know, somebody had once said that CBE came up last year in our country. But I think right from the beginning, we used to have the CBE. It's only that we had different and at times wrong approach. So I would actually want us to give a chance to our sister,
Jacqueline,
who is actually in the coverage. In the coverage.
Yes.
Makini. Like, we hear more about it, even as we come and bring now maybe about the IB and the others.
Absolutely. Miss Jacqueline, please, you in Cambridge, please, you could help us understand how different it is, the entry levels of the same, and, you know, what it actually really does look like.
First of all, let's start by clarifying that IGCSE is not a curriculum. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Look at it the way you look at KCSE.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. But we'll come to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cambridge is just one of the many curricula out there offered with the international market in mind. So in Kenya, for example, we have the Cambridge curriculum, we have the Pearson EdExcel, we have the IB, we have these others that are not really international, but they serve the families that have relocated to Kenya for work or for whatever engagement. So like the French school, for example, the Swedish school. So they're like our CBE taken to another country, so that there is that continuity of learning when the parents then come back, yeah? So back to Cambridge, it's an international curriculum. Children from as early as 3 years, which is under the early years curriculum. And then the primary, those are the pathways, yeah? Then the primary, which is from year 1 to year 6, divided into key stages. Key stage 1, which is year 1 and 2. Key stage 2, which is year 4, 5, 6. Okay. And then you start the lower secondary, which is year 7, 8, and 9. That is now key stage 3. Then you have the upper secondary, which is year 10 and 11. At the end of year 10, then students sit for exams and receive their IGCSE certification.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
So they get their IGCSE certification.
Okay.
And depending on the pathway they want to follow, others will then proceed to AS, which is year 12, or A level, which is year 13. At the end of which they sit an exam and get the GC certification. Yes, so at year 11 it's IGCSE. Yes, yeah, and then at A level is GC. The beauty with the Cambridge is that you can actually finish at year 11, take a different pathway, or finish at year 12, take a different pathway, or at year 13.
Okay.
The only one that you get straight to university, if you qualify that, is either after year 12 or year 13. Most of the students who finish at year 11 will probably opt to take a gap year or go for certificate or diploma program. Basically use the other way, not the direct route to university.
Okay.
Cambridge is globally recognized, as you know. Yes, and I think that's what gives it that advantage. I don't think there's any country you'll go to and not hear Cambridge. Okay, it's a curriculum that has been here for years. I think in Kenya, our parents, some of our parents must have actually gone through the Cambridge curriculum. It's offered in over 160 countries. Okay, so that is what gives it that global recognition. Universities, you don't need to introduce that this is Cambridge, this is what it's about. In terms of, the skills, of course, every curriculum expects that the students who go through it develop innovation, critical thinking skills, problem solving, and all that. The 21st century skills and more. But what makes Cambridge again different is that it clearly defines the attributes that it wants its learners to develop.
Okay.
So it's known as a Cambridge learner attribute. Even the Cambridge educator. So for instance, if we expect our students to be innovative, we expect that the teachers who are teaching those students to be innovative.
Innovative, yes.
If we expect our students to be reflective, the teachers should also be reflective. Responsible, the teacher should also be responsible. Yes, yeah, because we all know that you can't offer what you don't have.
That's true.
Okay, the modeling always starts from the educators. So apart from the academic aspect of the curriculum, there is also now the holistic development, which is where these attributes come in. The offering of the subjects is very broad, again, which is an advantage. I mean, over 70 subjects offered. So schools have the flexibility to decide these are the subjects that we are going to offer in our school, in our setting, based on the availability of the expertise in those subjects. That's why you'll go to other schools, you find that psychology is offered as a subject, law is offered. And in others, they offer the basic subjects, your history, your geography, and leaves at that. It doesn't mean that this school is better than the other. It's a decision that a school has taken that this is what we are going to market to our the parents. I'd like to use the word clientele, but when you're dealing with students, it's about children, yeah?
Yes.
And of course, math and English compulsory for all students, yes. Then after that, a student has the opportunity to either choose sciences and mix with the humanities and the technicals and all that. So you can take as many as 10, 12, depending on whether the timetable works for the school and your capacity as a student and what you want to pursue and beyond. I mean, some students take the subjects for fun because they find it interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
The other thing that we find interesting with Cambridge or advantageous is that it has those access arrangements for students who may not be very well enabled academically. You have to go through school, yes. You have your challenges, but there is an opportunity for you to have maybe extra time or have a scribe during assessments. So that provision for every child actually makes Cambridge very unique. It's currently, I think, in about over 90 schools in Kenya, with most of the schools concentrated in Nairobi, Mombasa. I think we have some schools in Kisumu, in Kisii, Nanyuki, and all that. So it's a growing curriculum, and I think for parents who are looking for an alternative, it's one of those curriculum that is really visible out there. Yes.
Interesting.
You know what I'm just thinking?
Yeah.
It's like cost is a big factor. Like, and listen, this is my brain doing all the trying to process all those things. Because it's like if you can afford it, then you sort of like get the best. So does it mean that then it puts you at an advantage over there? I don't know if it makes sense. Like it's all those things. Like say for example, someone who went through the 844, okay, in a public school, because we're also seeing other private schools incorporating, you know, some of this of this curricula. So the question is, cost versus quality versus does it put you at an advantage? And I'm not saying this is just for the Cambridge alone, because we also have other, you know, forms of curriculum out there.
I wouldn't say that it puts you at an advantage.
Okay.
I'm very, very careful with that. I think it's just an alternative. Yes, the cost factor is something to consider.
Yes.
I believe every curriculum is actually built to equip the learners for the pathways of their choice. I think it's the same way you decide where to go and dine.
Okay.
You'll still have fries. Maybe the ambience will be different.
The
Same cost will be different. But yes. I think it's the fact, the beauty is that parents have an option. I can choose that my child is going to go through the national curriculum, which is the CBE in this case, or the international curriculum. What is my end goal? Do I want my child to be able to transition easily in the event that I decide to relocate? Or would I rather have my child go through the national curriculum, which is focused, or you know, the national education goals, you know, the context and all that? So I think there are so many factors that come into play. But yes, it is costly because we have to pay for the curriculum. That's someone else's curriculum. The national curriculum, on the other hand, has been paid for by the taxpayers. Am I right? Yes. For this one, any school that offers that, you have to subscribe. There's an annual subscription. There's a cost that comes with, you know, the kind of resources that you need. The teachers that you want to. There's a lot that goes on.
It feels like we put Miss Jacqueline on the spot, right?
No, the intention was
to just understand.
And also when you think about our labor market, majority of the times, even just forget the Cambridge curriculum. Ule mtu amesomea wa juu akikuja huku Kenya is like they easily get a job as compared to someone who like there's a lot of, it's not to put you on the spot, I promise. Maybe that is something that we need to figure out.
Absolutely, because we've also seen people who've gone through the system, 844, and they've done really well as well. So what does that mean exactly? Is it also individual? I don't know. I don't know. But we're going to take a quick break. And of course, we have Mr. Peter Munga, who's just joined us, the education advocate and researcher. And we'll get to you right after the break. But right now, to lipe bills? Yes, we'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to Your World. It's Monday, it's Mindful Monday. Karibu sana, my name is Wikali. We're looking at education. And Winnie, tunasoma ama tusome?
Ni kama tutasoma. Ngoja kwanza. It depends with what is being offered.
Yes, that's true. That is so true.
It depends on what is being offered. If it's different from ile kitambo, well, we might consider, you know. They say you never stop learning.
No, you never stop learning. You never stop learning.
Until you're in your 60s, you still learn. Yeah. But we have a question for you. The question this morning is, parents, what is your concern or your biggest concern about your child's education? This is for the parents. What is your biggest concern as far as your child's education? Let's see what you guys have to say on our WhatsApp number. I want to attempt to start Nining, but
0769590762.
Yes. Eish. Hey. Okay. Yes. Hiya, we have some of your feedback.
Yeah.
Okay.
And You have a very good conversation, but educational capitalism has rendered many Kenyan youths hopeless. They only know how to speak very good English, but no skills. We must lobby that TVET training be free for all high school leavers at one course each. My name is Anthony Nyororo from Lari. Just as free primary and secondary is constitutionalized. Wacha nikwambie. My teachers are here, guys. Don't do this to me. So should be free TVET training for all high school graduates.
Okay.
Thanks, our world, for bringing this topic for discussion. As a parent, I agree that CBC is well-meaning in its design. However, what I am seeing is the schools are challenged in doing practicals, and it's ending up just as theory, cramming, bookwork, and more cramming. Resources need to be invested in schools to assist children develop capabilities even before they sit for exams or go into the world to work.
Okay. Okay, this one says, happy belated International Women's Day, Mikali and Winnie. Thank you. The system of education, that is 844 during our days, was much better than CBE. It was theory and practical, home science, arts and craft and music. I see a lot of confusion in CBE. Even our kids, they don't know what they want. I have gone through the textbooks and they're too shallow. In short, CBE is very expensive.
Yeah.
I wonder what Mr. Otuoma would say to this.
Yeah, but even just basing on what we've had from our audience and on WhatsApp, maybe we'll start with you, Peter. Do you agree that back in the day when we were doing art and craft, home science and music, that system was better than what is now, and the challenges that are being experienced by the parents and the confusion that apparently is there? Is there a basis to this?
And even the teachers.
And the teachers as well.
Yeah. Great to be on this show.
Karibu sana.
Yeah, my name is Peter, and I've been a teacher for some time, and I'm also a researcher.
Yeah.
That's a great thought, you know, that was it better those days, our days? Personally, I went to a school where I started writing in the dust, and, you know, we will start to cram the letters, we'll sing songs. So manga then you know so manga ba mana hore ho you know you know that kind of thing, you know. So that's how we learn the alphabet. So manga then you know we put that, you know, and somehow we free, you know, the system was flowing, and we understood what we were getting, what we were learning, but the current needs and the current world system, the way we live in the current world, things have changed. Even if we change anger, that's what they say where I come from. Things keep changing daily. And because things change, we can't remain static.
That's true.
Yeah, education must always be dynamic. We have to look for how to fit in. And I think that's what has happened, what is happening currently. The only problem with change is that change is very painful sometimes. And it's also very costly. I've been listening to my colleague, and my feeling is that somebody said, if you want, was it, ignorance, try? No, if you want cheap, I can't remember the statement very well, but it ties.
Education is expensive.
If you think education is expensive, try ignorance, something like that. Because ignorance is cheap. You know, when you need an education, you must invest in it. So from my school of thought, all these systems that we've listened to, our brothers and sisters here have described to our parents and to the listeners, the bottom line is the pathways, the structure. Pathways are actually like the foundation. The child that you're bringing up, you as a parent, you need to start thinking about where do you want this child to be 10, 15 years, 20 years from now. Now, that's a very hard task for many parents and many Kenyans. Many of us don't like thinking that far. We talk about living hand to mouth and also doing things day by day. You know, we even believe in the scriptures, of course, which is very good, which tell us that why worry about what you'll put on tomorrow? today is there, the sun has come out, you know.
Yes.
So that thinking so hard, so far, is not a preserve for many of us Kenyans. But as a parent, the moment your child comes forth, the first thing you start thinking about is, what is the pathway? Where do I want this child to go? Now, many of us will go with what the politician will say. The politician will come up with something, and when they are campaigning, they say, free laptops for every Form 1 or Standard 1, or something, free education, free what? Now, don't go with that kind of thought. When you are a good parent, don't just go with what every politician is saying about.
Yes.
Or if possible, then question them. Take time to listen. What are you probably introducing to us? Like a pathway, I'll talk about some countries like say India or even Japan. I happen to have a child in Japan right now. And I've been listening to what the child tells me about the education system there, vis-a-vis what she learned here in Nairobi, in Kenya. And the girl tells me the education there it's like somebody thought very far, very hard about what input they should do as a country to change their world. I like the name of this program. It's not about just about Japan or Hiroshima or wherever they come from, that city is. It is about the whole world. They think about the whole world. How to change, how to impact the world. So their career pathways or their pathways are about how to impact the world. So in Kenya, sometimes our systems are more to do with, we have to please somebody's legacy. Maybe he comes up with a legacy, he wants to have a legacy, to leave behind a legacy. So he comes up with something called a presidential working force party. And this party comes up with some recommendations. And things have to be done quickly because we have 5 years to go. We have time running. And you know, we don't do the piloting, we don't do the research, we don't involve people like the people you're having on this show, who are thinkers and people can research. So at the end of the day, we end up at the mercies of a politician. Now, it's not bad to be a politician, but I would wish that when it comes to education, education experts, teachers, people trained in education should be allowed to handle.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so all those changes and the learners are the ones who are being affected, but also the parents are forced into, say, a particular curriculum. Like there's a bit of confusion here and there. But really, what would work? I know what you talked about, piloting would be better, but looking at what was there, right? And what is available now and the different curricula that we have, right here in the country, what would work, and especially for the majority of learners who are in public schools, those who can't afford to go to, say, a private school or a really good private school that offers a different curriculum?
What would work? You see, personally, the CBC curriculum, what they call the CBE currently, is very well thought out. It's a system that should work if properly funded, if properly, introduced to schools and to teachers. The problem so far has been the retooling, the teachers, bringing in the teachers on board. I happen to be a high school teacher, and many of us, when the grade 10 arrived in our schools, we didn't even know what to do with them. We didn't have the books, had not been retooled. The teaching pedagogy, we call it pedagogy, that is like the teaching systems or teaching methodologies, the art of teaching, pedagogical practices. Now, those are the things that are so important when you want to bring a child. For example, CBC, I want to describe to something using an analogy like the football one. Is a teacher in CBC curriculum, it's not just a teacher, it's a facilitator. He's not a teacher just sitting like a lecturer in the university lecturing to you and you just take the notes. No, it's like the coach of, say, Arsenal or Man United. You're no longer just a teacher. You sit on the bench, you sit outside the field, you allow your players, who are now your students, into the field, you show them that's the goal, these are the rules, this is what's supposed to happen. Then you, as a coach, as a facilitator, you're no longer a teacher, you are a coach. You watch as the young ones play the game, I'm using the game as an analogy.
Yes.
So as they play, you as the teacher, the CBC teacher, you pick on the skills, the abilities of every child. You discover this one can be a good goalkeeper. You say, hey, you will be number one, you'll be in our goal. You'll no longer be playing in the main field. You'll be the defender. You will be the striker.
Yes.
So that is my work now as a facilitator, as a coach. I'm no longer just a teacher who comes and sings, Somanga, Somanga, B. I'm no longer that kind of person.
No.
I'm now a person who wants to hear the child first, know if the child can do it, then I assist the child.
Yes.
Then the child will ask me questions, and then I will sit back and watch the child do it.
Yeah.
Now, I can assure you, of the 25 years I've taught in school, I was brought from grade 10s. I've not been retooled. The books were late to come. I'm in a public school. Sorry, I'm a public. Sorry, I'm come from.
You don't have to apologize. Don't apologize for it.
We just brought children. They come to our classes, and they are full. You know, CBC requires small classrooms.
Yeah.
Because if you are a coach, you can't coach 100 players in the field.
That
you
is so
need
true.
12, 10.
Yeah.
If they are, you can't coach everybody at the same time. How will you be able to identify all those talents and abilities of these children and skills?
Because that is what is required
That's
of
what's
you with the
required.
system now.
I'm supposed to look for the competencies.
Yeah.
The word competence, man, is a big word. It's that this child is competing with others, and I have to look for the good competence in this child than that other child, you know? So I have a job to do as a facilitator, as a coach in this system called CBC.
Yeah.
But now I've not been allowed to do it.
And
I've not been facilitated.
Yeah.
I've not been taught. I've not been retooled. The skills I learned in Kenyatta University 25 years ago when I left KU are the same ones I still have to do.
Yeah, Peter, I think the passion is really alive, and I can feel it sitting all the way here. And whatever our audience just texted, really, they're saying how the teachers, and there was a whole confusion because I went through a couple of my friends who were transitioning and they did not know what they will receive. The teachers did not know, and they opted to go for an international system that seemed more grounded and structured and all of that. So there is truth there, that there's a lot that needs to be done. But I don't know, Paul, what it would be, what needs to be done now, because there's a case of teachers who need to be retooled. There's a case of resources that need to be employed to these schools. What is the, and also we'll have Mr. Sifuna tell us, as an expert to a CBE.
Thank you very much. I would say that this debate or this discussion is very healthy because it's bringing out the reality of the challenges that we are going through as a nation.
That is so true.
One, I would like us to take what Mr. Amunga has said about imbalance. The thing he has mentioned, which has touched my heart, is CBE requires a minimum or a certain number of learners to be facilitated by a certain teacher or maybe facilitator. But what we see here now, we are finding that we are actually at a crossroad as a nation. Why? Some schools, some senior schools are closing down, and they are public schools, while some of the senior schools are overcrowded. The reason being, the same mentality of 844 is still in our parents about CBE. Parents were rushing their kids to C1 schools and C2 schools because of the name and the performance of the KCSE, without knowing that we are now having a changed approach even to the assessment. And with this one now, even when we talk of resources, when you talk of retooling the teachers, I think, and with a lot of sincerity, the first person we need to retool is the parent to change the mindset. Because now, every time, even when the teachers are doing the best they could, the parents are still back in the days of 844. Because like now, you've heard of schools in some parts of this country have closed down, and these are the senior schools. Others are actually overcrowded. I'm not touching the primary and the junior schools. I'm now on the senior school because our researcher has touched something very important. And so I would say that the government needs to invest more, in the education sector. And this investment will not only be monetary. No, we need our teachers to be retooled, and we need also to have barazas where parents in smaller groups will be invited and they will be talked to so that they can understand their roles and what they need to do. Because we might also bring textbooks, we take the kids to schools, but when they go back home, the parents actually bring the same mentality of 844. I would remember, and here I just want to appreciate what our CEO, NEC, did. At the beginning of the KJCR registration, we had made a very big mistake where the parents were being told to select senior schools. Junior schools. And that time, everybody was seated. Parents were busy trying to see which is the school that my child is going to, until some of the people who are seated here approached the NEC and said, which schools are we going to select and why? Because now we are coming out of 844, which used to have schools selected because of the KCP performance. With now the performance of KIPSEA, how can you say that you are going to select a school that this child will go? They'll go to Alliance, they'll go to this other school because of their performance. And yet, we are talking of competencies which are very different from what we used to have. So what I'm putting here and clear is that our parents need to be retooled, to be taught, and this can be done in public barazas. Then for our schools, we don't have just to say that we need to talk to our teachers, to talk to our learners. Whenever we have got the parents' open days, let the parents be taught. Let them be talked to. When we talk of parental empowerment and engagement, let them know that now we have changed. And why am I saying this? We are discussing about different systems of education. And a word has come that CBE might end up being the best, but now the majority of Kenyans are still in the mentality of 844. Such that even when you tell them now, your child who has not been doing very well in mathematics can do very well in football and can do very well in another pathway, they still feel that mine, because my father is a doctor or my husband is a doctor, I want my son to be a doctor like that. Not knowing that everybody is different from the other and everybody is an individual according to even the human psychology.
Right. And also, Mr. Ochoa, to just stick on the attitude part of it, because I've also interacted with some teachers, especially with this CBE, CBC, and they're like, this is just too much. This is too much for us as teachers. And, Mr. Munga talked about the influx as well, of learners, that you don't have that one-on-one interaction, with the learners, because it's a lot of them, by the time you get to student number 300 and CG, you're already tired. So then how do we, either, apart from retooling, also just support them mentally, so that we have a little bit of a shift when it comes to attitude, because at the end of the day, we need these facilitators to help the learners.
You are spot on. You are spot on. The biggest challenge we have had with our education system, all the way from the formative stages when we were putting in the task force and all that, and Mr. Munga is quite right. To the extent that we must, as a nation, come up with a resolution that our education system must be financed properly. I'm one of the proponents that has put in a lot of discourse on education financing. It defeats logic with all these amazing ideas and young people coming up, and they are wired to think differently. Because now, if you teach them like you taught 100 years or 10 years ago, and you're expecting this kind of results, then I think you'll be reinventing the wheel. The thing is, the government of Kenya, led by our good president, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, who puts a lot of premium on matters education. For me, I'm one teacher, or I'm one person who will really not gamble with education. Education is a social equalizer. The child of the poor from West Pokot, from Mount Elgon, can also go through the ranks to become a doctor, a medical doctor, or a journalist, a revered journalist, as the elegant sisters of mine in NTV building. So we must not, at given time, gamble with our education system. My clarion call is to the parents. I think one of the panelists has already alluded to that. Parental engagement is very key. I know money is hard to come by. People are really spending a lot of time outside. You cannot possibly, with the new curriculum, expect your child to do well if your earliest to arrive in the house is some hours, is the ungodly hours of past midnight, and you are leaving very, very early in the morning. When is that child? And Paul has said it is parental empowerment and engagement. Your presence alone matters a lot. If they say, please provide this, make sure that you're going outside of your way to make sure that your child is provided. I just want to say, if you look at the course, what we call the subject course, apart from the four subject areas that the child is taking that is in line with his or her pathway, there is what we call the subject course. And one of it is what we call community service learning. Community service learning is one of the most integral part that CBE actually thought out so well. I started this show by saying that our education system must look at what is current, what is happening locally and globally. So if the learners are able to go outside there, and when you talk about community service, it is nurturing creativity, it's nurturing action, and it is nurturing the service to humanity. So the students grow well, knowing that the value-based teaching and learning is good. We cannot be, for example, talking about ESCC, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, grappling year in, year out, pumping a lot of billions to fight corruption when we have not nipped the bud at that stage when the learner is there. The Swahili people, and Amunga, I think he taught Swahili, if you ask him, they will say, Samaki mkunje, angani mchanga. So let us take advantage of our young ones at the early stages to instill the values. The other day I was making a joke that a machine that was primarily meant to capture thieves was innovated in somewhere in South Korea, and they were doing a piloting program. So they took the machine first of all in South Korea. After 1 hour, it had only caught 3 men. They took the machine to Boston, Massachusetts. After 1 hour, it had got just barely below 5 men and women. And then they said, let us try it in Kenya. And they placed the machine along Moy Avenue. And after only 5 seconds, the machine was missing. So we need to chart a trajectory and ask our values and systems. Put Kenya as what we, as a patient on the operating table. What are the problems facing Kenya? What are the value deficit facing Kenya? And where does the education system that we want to be consumed by our children get to? It will defeat logic for us to teach an education system that is not serving us. And lastly, it is important that we also decolonize our mindset about education. For me, as Otoa Sifuna, it again defeats logic. For our good 21st century students, boys and girls, to speak good English, impeccable English outside there, but agriculture is zero. So for classrooms that are just teaching theory and they're not providing local solutions, that was what a competent-based curriculum, such as this one, was going out to solve. It cannot possibly make sense in Kenya, where we are speaking good English, but we are deficit in terms of producing food in our bread baskets. So we must ask ourselves, which system of education is going to go a long way to solve our problems? Problems faced in health, problems faced in food security, problems faced with social interactions, technology, innovation, and so on. And I can guarantee you here that we have amazing set of boys and girls coming up. I think God has been gracious to us that he has given us very good children. The only thing that we need to do is just to re-engineer our system of education. That should now be more focused on problem solving than just theoretical teaching and learning.
Ah, okay. Watch your 20 break. But then when we come back, I want to understand. So despite we're yet to go through the IB type of curriculum, which I'm really, really curious about, when we come back from the break, I want to understand. So then, what are the fundamentals of education? Because ukiangalia the way Poland, Mr. Munga pale walisoma, and us who went through the 844 and then the Cambridge and then say IB, like what are the fundamentals of education that should still remain despite
the changes,
and what curriculum one goes through? Probably we'll unpack that after the break, but let's go through some of your feedback before we go on the question that we're asking to the parents, and that is, what is your biggest concern really as far as the education system? So huyo anasema nini?
So in my view, Kenya was not fully prepared for the transition from 844 system to CBC. While the 844 system had its weaknesses, it could have been improved by making it more practical and skills-oriented instead of scrapping it entirely. CBC is a good idea in principle, but in reality, it has proven to be very expensive for many families and schools. Education reforms should always consider the economic realities of the country. Basil from Masakla, Homa Bay.
Hey. Watch it in the break. But if you have questions, feel free to send it our way, and especially about curriculum and what you should know really before deciding which will be best for your child. Send it our way. You have a panel of experts this morning to answer all your questions. But for now, watch out for Muzike. It's a lot. We'll come back with more right after the break. Lord. Welcome back to the show. The question that we're asking you this morning on Mindful Monday, because we're really, really looking at our learners and looking at education then versus now. What worked then? What could be improved? What could be strengthened instead of completely scrapping off, parts of our education system? And also looking at the future, what could work as far as learning is concerned? Because there's a lot that has been happening. There's a lot that is happening, and there's a lot that should happen to really make sure that education is not just enda shule soma pita and then that's it. No, it should mean so much more, okay? And we're asking you, for the parents who are watching us this morning, what is your biggest concern about your child's education? What is your biggest concern about your child's education? A lot of you have a lot to say on Facebook. So, Abraham Maingi anasema, they're taught to be useful slaves, obey without query, cram and memorize, and then that's it. Haya, huyu ni nani?
We have Wanjira Odhiambo, that at their very tender age, where foundation is very crucial, they are schooling in one of the coastal towns where education is not valued at all. The schools don't hire qualified teachers who went to teaching school. I am quite worried. I think Wanjira is talking about a specific scenario that is happening probably close to where she is.
And then Abida Ken anasema, Kenyan education system is very bad. We waste our money, resources and time for the kids. They should be taught how to make money.
The worry for this parent, Loftus Watota, saying no jobs currently, and what children are being taught includes a lot of unnecessary things. Teach what is in need in our current times. Wazazi tunawasikia leo.
Hey, Carolina, anasema nini? Too many unnecessary subjects. Why can't you just bring 4 subjects? Get rid of many unnecessary, like Kiswahili, and even English, and introduce money topics, mental health, and skill subjects. We pay school fees, alafu inaenda tu bure. English, Kiswahili tolewe to mother tongue. Coach, wewe unaniongelesha kama mimi na kuongelesha Kikokot na Kiluya. Alafu tunaongea pesa.
And there's a lot from school fees is a lot. Bring this conversation every week. Can't there be a proper plan so that parents can budget accordingly? It is so annoying at times.
What's up? Let's hear from you as well before we continue and look at what the future would be. So this is the problem with the teachers of CBC. Teachers still have the mentality of 844, which is over-teaching and pumping pupils with a lot of rote knowledge. Pupils are 10 hours in class and even weekends, missing the church and even, therefore, the normative dimension is not addressed. Teachers are still focused on cognitive knowledge dimensions. Creative dimensions is fully not attended to. Classes sizes are too large to meet the aims of CBC. This is David Onwonga. Thank you for your feedback.
Mr. Sifuna mentioned the importance of agriculture. As a parent, I agree with him because we are an agricultural country. So for starters, can the Ministry of Education ensure that all schools, if possible, have a small garden for practicals, as agriculture is a practical subject that applies to other practical subjects such as sports, music, etc. Without students accessing these facilities to practice CBE just remains the same as 844, cramming books and offloading theories in exams. Okay. We have one more. Wewe mwalimu wa usoma mkhondoliza should accept we have a problem somewhere in our education system. Those teachers handle CBE, our 844 teachers. They still have 844 brains. Whoever came up with CBE had a brilliant idea, but you should accept the reality. We're not ready for this kind of education. Also, politics has spoiled this team. I think they're agreeing with everything that you were saying, Peter. That we have one more, Paul? Oh, okay. Thank you. They were just agreeing with what you were saying earlier, that by the time this system is being brought to schools, there should have been something that was done. Probably retooling of the teachers before, upscaling of classes, resources, and all of that. But it's still not happening.
Yes.
And I hope, like the conversation we were having during the break, that it will get better with time. Because it's the formative years of the system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it or does it not? Because we were comparing with the 844.
Yes. You see, what happens, and it's so unfortunate sometimes, that in our schools we discovered there are so many things we could not do which CBC requires. Like what you're talking about agriculture. There's a parent talking about agriculture there. And so you discover many schools don't even have a farm. They don't even have a place for the children to play. So, but the exam, the activity, there's an activity that is brought and you're told to mark it and send the results to the Kenya National Examinations Council. So what's our work as a teacher now? You've been brought a student who's supposed to swim. You've been brought an activity. Make sure the child knows something called a backstroke. Now, me as Mr. Munga Hanyalabandu, I don't know myself
the backstroke.
What is a backstroke? I don't know what is all of that. So, but I'm supposed to teach somebody's child to understand what's a backstroke, and not just teach. I'm supposed to mark an exam to show this child is able to do it and upload the results on the system. Now, what we did, most of us, and I'm saying it on live TV, and teachers know what I'm saying is true, we ended up just filling in marks we just gave them marks so that they can move on to the next. Musonge mbele, mutuache wale wako junior, tupatie problem to wale wanaenda senior school teachers. Au pia tutasongesha mbele, waende university. Our lecturers there can also figure it out what to do about that.
Because
because we have not been retooled. I don't know what is a backstroke. I'm supposed to do that. I don't know how to rear a rabbit or some of us teachers cannot differentiate much between chicken, broiler, what, but we are supposed to do that and teach them and upload the marks. So because the government didn't meet some of these gaps, that is where the problem is. So the problem is inherited by the next person. So if I'm a ECD teacher, I leave it for the lower primary teacher to handle it. Lower primary school teacher will leave it to the upper will leave it for the junior school. We are just postponing the problem. So when the graduation finally comes, some 5-6 years from now, is when we now know really what these children are doing in school. And I can tell you very little is going on, especially in public schools, which unfortunately I am a member. And to add, just to finish on that one, is the problem with copying and pasting is the biggest issue in our education system. We look at a good thing, say in Australia, or one of our politicians or one of our professors happen to see a good thing in Finland. when he was maybe doing his master's. So he comes back and he's put on a committee and he's told, hey, from today, you are on the committee to implement the new curriculum. So he brings his notes from Finland.
Yes.
And he puts them on paper. And he takes them to the Presidential Working Party and says, hey guys, I have an idea, we can do this. And they copy-paste what is from Finland, they copy-paste for the Kenyan system. It doesn't work that way. If we want a proper education system for our people, we'll have to tailor-make it ourselves. We'll have to put on the boots, go into our cultures, go to Maasai land, see what can fit in the Maasai culture and in our education system. What can fit in the Somali culture, the Kikuyu culture. And not just that, our education from when you do the foundations of our education system, it used to go with our culture, our people, our world. If you can't involve your world, if you live out of this world, and our world starts with here in Nairobi, here in Kisumu, start there. Tailor our education system with that. Don't copy-paste.
Okay. But then again, so remember how we say the world is a global village, and we want mimi mwenye nilisomea Chepareria Primary School. Nikienda Finland, nisiambiwe haya, you have to go back to school. You know, like
grade wanze kufanya kama wa Finland.
You know, yeah. Like how do we get to that level where it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter which curriculum you went through. The quality is there that you can go anywhere and still be accepted in the curriculum that you went through, still be accepted in the system.
And I'd see your face, Miss Jacqueline.
Yeah, I was looking at her.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Allow me to say this, and maybe my colleagues here may not agree with me.
Okay.
And this is in reference to the CBE that we are all grumbling about. It's here with us.
Yeah.
And because we are raising students who are supposed to be critical thinkers and problem solvers and all, we will be doing them an injustice if we remain at the stage of this is not working.
Not working.
Yeah, it has to.
How about being solution-oriented? One person at a time, one idea at a time. Because the majority of Kenyan children use the CBE curriculum.
Yeah.
The fraction represented by kids who go to an international school is very small. And we might want to overhaul. To what? And in the process, what are we doing to these children in between?
Yeah.
The ideal situation would be what the gentleman is saying. Retool the teachers, do proper piloting, make sure the circumstances are perfect before we start. But sometimes you've got to start before you can actually tell where the gaps are. And now that we are where we are, we have people like the gentleman here. This is feedback. And I'm sure there are other platforms where feedback is shared. There are other panels. I'm sure there are forums for all this stuff. So our children have to get the best. The CBE, I think, is really well-meaning. Like, I think one of the people who gave feedback said, we haven't been retooled. But some of the resources are there. How about going out there and actually retooling yourself? Because teachers love children. We get into the profession because we love children.
Yes.
If I use the case of where I work, we have the Cambridge curriculum section, and we have the CBE curriculum section. There's a lot of investment that has gone into retooling the teachers into professional development. You studied your subject. You're a teacher of English and literature. You're a teacher of mathematics. But maybe what needs to change is how you deliver that. It's no longer what is a verb, and a verb is a doing word. It's about getting those kids to experience that verb, okay? We have class size issues, no doubt about it. But then where do these children go if we do not have enough schools? They find themselves in these schools that are overcrowded. Is it easy? No, it's not. But they're in front of us. All yearning to learn and to develop the skills, the competencies. So I think if we all come with a solution-oriented mind shift, who knows, maybe we might challenge the people who are responsible for the curriculum enough for them to actually act. Is there a curriculum that is better than the other? From a teacher's point of view, I don't believe so.
Okay.
All curricula, people who develop that, they do a thorough job. I think the implementation level is where, because even the IB, the Cambridge, the Pearson, there are lots of professional development opportunities for their teachers. Some, the IB has its own training sessions for the teachers who deliver the IB. Cambridge has a whole site for professional development, continuous upskilling, continuous training. Knowledge also shifts. Things that we may have thought to be true may not be the case anymore. The children that we are dealing with are in a totally different world from the world that we grew up in. There's an overstimulation because of the exposure they have. So the classroom management techniques that I learned when I was training to be a teacher may not actually work for the modern child. So what does that mean? I go back and ask, okay, this cohort that I have is very different. How do I handle it? The same with now the curriculum. You've got the content, but you're not expected to stand in front of the students and say, what did you call it? Pythagoras.
Pythagoras theorem.
Whatever, yes, yeah. It's meant to be experiential.
Yes.
It's meant to be inquiry-based, allow children opportunities. Like you talked about a facilitator.
Yes.
And you get that in all curricula. You get that in Cambridge. When instead of asking, what happened, you give them a context, a scenario, and then expect them to talk about that scenario. Instead of telling them Mary was very rude, you create a dialogue within the text and expect them to deduce from that dialogue the way Mary was speaking to determine what kind of person Mary is. So I don't think all is lost. No.
There's opportunity.
There's opportunity. And just listening to Paul as well, now having had that, maybe we need to take this initiative on self instead of waiting probably to all be shipped somewhere to get everything working and to know where we are going with all of this. Do you think this is a possibility? Is it something that can happen, should happen? And are there some quarters that are actually just doing this as well?
Thank you very much. I would actually like to comment on, especially on what my two colleagues have said.
Yes.
And both of them have talked of quality, and they also delved into what you talked about, the fundamentals of any curriculum. It is very, very important for us to get that even when our curriculum appears, or maybe the way we approach our CBE appears not to be going the right way, we need to have a shift of mindset completely. One of us mentioned something which is very true and also very, very dangerous. Right from the formative assessments, that is in the primary schools, that is grade 3, up to KJs here, grade 6, let's say first of all to grade KIPS here. You realize that some of the outcomes which are posted into the NEC portal are not realistic. Already, what the type of learners whom we gave to the senior schools are already appearing different from whatever NEC assessed. The reason being exactly what he said. And if this is not addressed now, we will continue finding our learners, whenever they go out there, being told to elicit or maybe go for interviews, go for other tests so that they can be absorbed. So what I would like to do is to make a clarion call to all of us, all the stakeholders in education in Kenya. Let us know that patriotism is what will build our nation. And what our colleague has said, we move our mindset from all the time complaining and start looking for the solutions. Because here we've been given a very good curriculum. That is the CBC. It's a very good curriculum. But the moment, right from the facilitators, everybody has a negative mind. the learners, the parents. You go even to the people who are monitoring the implementation. Also, all of them have got the negativity. We do not progress at all. And I would say something else which I wanted to mention before our time comes to a close.
Yes.
We are about to finish the cohort of the 844.
Yep.
And there's something very strange coming from the universities. The learners who graduated from the 844, that is KCSE, are not finishing their degrees well. Most of them are dropping out. If they are dropping out in our country, and maybe we wanted them admitted in a Cambridge system or maybe to another university, they are not going to do better. The reason being the same mentality of not being patriotic has brought in a lot of other bad things in our system, where you as a parent, you want your child to shine irrespective. You even go ahead and get money and say, make sure that my son, my daughter actually is the best.
Yes.
And without knowing that when you plant an orange, you cannot harvest a mango.
True.
No, you can't.
What you harvest is what you had planted. And so what I would like to say is that from all sectors, parents, teachers, and even the learners, we have to safeguard our education system. We've been told that there is no education system which can be better than the other. There's no curriculum that we can say that this is superior to the other. It all depends on how we approach it, how we perceive it, and how it is implemented, especially now on our learners, because these are the consumers of whatever we give them. If in a certain school, the learners agreed, lazima tuibiwe mtihani ili tupite. Look at that mentality. You cannot steal progress in life.
Yeah.
And the moment you do that, you are actually killing your star. You are killing your dream. And with this one now, even when we talk of CBE, we talk of CBC, we talk of Cambridge, we talk of all the other systems, no matter how much we do, without changing the way we approach, the way we perceive, we might actually take another century before we reach Tiboroa on our way to Singapore.
Hey. Listen. I mean, but it's true, really. It's true. Imagine your child anakuja nyumbani with exceeding expectation. Kumbe they were approaching expectations.
Oh, God.
Mr. Ochoa, so then looking at the current, education system and curricula, really the differences that we have, what do we need to change to prepare for the future? Because again, I want to believe at some point in the future, we will change, okay? So then how do we prepare ourselves as parents, as learners, and even as facilitators for the future? And what are some of the skills that we need to actually instill in our learners today to prepare them for the future, not just the future within the country, but even across the globe? What would you say very quickly?
Yeah, my advice to all the education stakeholders, and starting with the parents, I'll still go back to what I said earlier. It's all about decolonizing our minds. We are so fixated to the kind of education system that happened many years ago. You're talking about assessment. Until your child has come home, the first question you are asking him or her, which position are you? We should now transcend from that kind of assessment. Let us focus on which skills the child has been able to learn. And I cannot agree with Madam Jacqueline in the studio more to really just focus on what the skills and what the child has been able to do. Let our children, first of all, be explorative. Let them learn creativity. Let them look at the environment, both locally and globally, and come up with their innovative ways of solving this. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was just, unlike Mwalimu Peter Munga and maybe others, I'm usually on the optimist side of life. Like we did say when we were drafting CBC, we said the train has already left the station. Do we now crash and say that the weaknesses that have already and the cracks that have already been exposed in the CBC, we actually throw the child away? No. The thing is, we can improve those weaknesses with time and allow a process that has very good intention to proceed. If it's about financing, the Kenyan government must know that they need now to put a good vote head and in the budget to make sure that the CBC is well financed. And as we do that, let's also look at the equity. For me, I have always been the ambassador of equitable distribution of resources in the education sector. Yes, when we were crafting the curriculum, we said, if these guys are not accessible to the real materials, like, for example, the internet and the computer, they could work with locally available materials like the clay. But you see, we are producing, we want all these children, whether they're coming from Mount Elgon or from Tana River or from Kilifi, we want to see a situation where the children are competing at the same time. So we must also review and look at how is it that our education system is going to be equitable, it's going to be fair. And lastly, I would also wish to talk about just again the value system. If you're talking about an academic integrity, and that's why the name of Matiang'i in the education system or sector in this country will live for a very long period of time. Let us also accept the reality that when it comes to making our education system work, we must put values and integrity as number one. Gone are the times even when all of us will be jostling that our children must end up getting slots in the former national schools. As long as the pathway that leads to the development of the skills and the competences within your child is found in any school, please let us allow, because I saw that when we were doing the placements, that the traditional national schools ended up actually getting jammed up by many people wanting their children to get to there. Yet all these services could be found in other schools. So please, as we go ahead, it is just my clarion call to the Kenyan parents, to the teachers, that let us allow our children to be children in the first place. Let us build on their skills and competences. And like I did say, let us make our education system much more enjoyable rather than being like a prison somewhere on earth.
Right. Yeah, that was clearly stated. And I see our time is running out, but then probably could we get, Paul, maybe 30 seconds for our experts to just give us their
Thank you very
shots.
much.
Yes.
First is to appreciate the invite.
Yes.
And I'd like to leave this one to our audience to understand that education will actually keep on evolving, but wisdom will keep on being wisdom, that it will remain. And so as time changes, let us not be led by the time, but let us lead the time.
Mwalimu, uliweza kusema mimi ndiye mwalimu. Ms. Jackson.
The message to the parents out there who are wondering which route to take when it comes to choice of curriculum is that you as a parent, you as a family know what you want for your child today and tomorrow. What's your objective? What's your end goal? And when you decide what that is, then you will decide whether you want to go to the more inquiry-based IB or the more high-stakes, balanced Cambridge, high-stakes exams and then balanced Cambridge, or to the locally aligned CBE. In the job market, yes, there's a notion out there that when you came from an international curriculum school, then you're better positioned, which I don't think is the case. What matters is the skills that the employer is looking for, the values and the attributes. What
you possess, more of like the soft skills other than what is on the paper. All right, thank you so much, Mr. Jacqueline. Mr. Munga.
Yes, mine is just to say education, quality education is equal to three things. Quality tools, the tools that are used to teach that education, the classrooms, the books, the chalk, the software. Then quality environment. A quality environment is the classrooms, the environment where your child is learning in. As a parent, when you're looking for quality education for your child, think of those three things. And then quality teachers. The last one is just quality well-paid, quality well-paid teachers. If we have teachers, like right now, I'm sorry, we marked exams for the last 2025 exams, national exams. We've not been paid. And that means we are not quality, well-paid teachers. Teachers must be paid. If you want results, you must give us the money, train us, retool us, and value us. And we shall also reciprocate to your child.
Absolutely.
That will be quality education.
Hey, lipeni walimu.
Itabidi.
Watoto wasiumie. Listen, thank you so much for coming by today. I just want to go through one or two probably feedback before we say goodbye.
Yes.
Gio Kello anasema value for money, so that is the biggest concern for them. And then Chengo Koi anasema, the most important things in life are not taught in school. The ones that are taught with less seriousness. For instance, health, money, love, and marriage. And if you have been keen, you will see the effects like high increase of lifestyle diseases, increasing the gap between the rich and the poor, many cases of divorce and separation. Wacha sisi tuseme goodbye.
Wacha tuseme kwaheri. Asanteni sana. Thank you so much for joining us today and for you tuning in as well. Tunawapenda sana. See you same time tomorrow. Adios.
Goodbye.